Wondering how you can become better at running your business? Entrepreneurship can be stressful. There's too much to do and not enough time. If you're isolated in your daily decisions, have no fear. Success and balance are possible. Welcome to the Small Business Answer Man podcast, where you master the art of running a successful business using practical advice from experts who want to help you succeed. Now, here's your host, Gary Wilbers.
Welcome. We're glad to have you back this week for another great podcast. I told you my goal in this third quarter was to find guests that really would propel your business, not only in the fourth quarter, but into next year that really will make a difference. And I think I found that guest again for us that's really going to make a difference. But Michael, would you share with our guest, what problem will you help them solve?
Well, the problem I'd like to help them solve today, Gary, is how to get more quality leads and then how to convert those leads into customers primarily. It's really the conversion process that I'd like to focus on. And what we have, what we've come up with through the research in our book called Powerful Business Strategies is a concept called the conversion formula. And it is a formula, and you have to follow it. If you go out of order, it won't work in all likelihood. But it's a critical component to differentiate yourself from your competition. Lots of times, people do what's called "I hope so" marketing, and we'll get into that a little later. And that's not differentiating themselves from their competitors at all. But the conversion formula, if done correctly, will be that key differentiation between you and someone else who is a competitor in your industry. And so the way the conversion formula works.
Yeah, let's get into that. But let's hold on, because I want to tell them who you are. Because I tell you what, the thing is, we want you to listen and know what that conversion formula is. But Michael Barbarita has owned retail, manufacturing, and service companies for over the last 40 years. He's the author of the book, Powerful Business Strategies, that you see there if you're watching this, and he's the host of an iHeart radio show of the same name. Michael, it is great to have you on the podcast. Let's just get into that, because we know business owners need more quality leads. Right. And you shared with us, you've come up with this strategy with a framework, really, to get more conversion. Can you share that a little deeper with us?
I sure can. So it's called the conversion formula, and it's based on the theory that you have to answer the questions that's going on in the customer's mind. And so we do that with the conversion formula. And the first step of the conversion formula, once again, it has to be followed in the exact order, is the captivate. Captivate is a headline that identifies the problem the customer has and doesn't want. It's critical that you are able to identify the problem, because like lots of like, for example, in the painting industry, a painter might say, well, my client's biggest problem is picking the right color paint. Well, unfortunately, that's a problem that everybody can solve, and it's too generic. So you really have to get deeper down and be more specific as to the exact problem that your customer has that they don't want. And so once you captivate them or interrupt them with that headline, with that problem, you now have to engage them, or what we call the fascinate. And that's called engaging them with the solution that they want that they can't find. And we have a name for those first two components of the conversion formula because they're really important. And we call it the position of market dominance. Because if you get those first two components, the captivate, problem, the fascinate, the solution, you get that down right, you got their attention. And you got their attention enough, so now you can educate them, which is the third component of the conversion formula. So now you have the time to educate them because you've captivated, fascinated, or engaged, interrupted, and engaged them. The educate just goes into more detail about how you solve that problem. See, a lot of business owners start with the educate, and it really falls short because you're not, when you start pontificating about a solution and not really mentioning the problem, or mentioning the problem without any ability to engage the customer's attention, it's just noise. And that's what has a tendency of happening. So we use the educate third once we've captivated and fascinated the customer. And then finally, the offer, which needs to be so compelling that the prospect can't say no. And it's easy for me to say that, but I am now going to tell you the 5 components of a compelling offer, so that I'm not just saying it, I'm giving it some background and some emphasis. So the 5 components of a compelling offer, which is the 4th level of the conversion formula, is number 1, scarcity and urgency. Scarcity, well, there's only 3 left. Urgency, the offer ends tomorrow. So by providing scarcity and urgency, you make your offer more compelling and giving the prospect an opportunity to take action. Now, keep in mind, you can use one or more of these, and the more you use these components, these different components, the more effective your offer will be. So the second is a risk reversal, where the seller in the transaction takes most or all the risk. You know, when I was in the ski business, the problem the customer had was they never really knew if the ski they were being sold was the right ski for them until they got it up on the mountain. And so what we did, because we recognized that problem, is we had a risk reversal called a ski guarantee. Ski the ski 3 times, don't like it, bring it back for a brand new pair, and keep bringing it back until we get it right. Gary, we sold 8,000 pair of skis that year, a 25% increase from the previous year when we didn't have that ski guarantee. And only 8 came back, which once again shows that if the customer has confidence in buying, that they really want to buy. They don't want to, mess around with the business owner by just, bringing it back 300 times and having the opportunity to ski on 300 different skis. It's not like that. The customer is not willing to take advantage of you. There's some are, there is always a few, but it's few. It's few. And that example, 8,000 pair of skis, 8 came back, is a great example of how the customer really loves to buy and wants to buy. They just don't want to ruin their weekend in the case of the ski business. The third component of a compelling offer is adding more value to your product or service. Now, when I was in the frozen cookie dough business, one of the things we did, the problem that the customer had is they didn't want to waste valuable oven space baking cookies. Okay, say they were a pizza parlor or a sub shop, they wanted to put subs and pizzas in their oven. They didn't want to put cookies in their oven. So what we did is with every opening order, we gave them a free convection oven. And because we understood the value of the long-term value of a customer, we didn't care that it took 3 or 4 orders to pay for the convection oven, because we were confident in our product, and we understood that when we made a sale, that there was an average order value of $5,000 over the long haul. So because of that, it worked famously, and we added more value to our product. So that's adding more value to your product or service. The fourth is packaging and bundling products together. There's a perception that customers have about a package and a bundle. And when I was in the ski business, everybody did packages, so that wasn't unique. But what we did that was unique is we took the most popular ski packages and the colors of those packages, and we packaged up ski clothing, a hat, a parka, a pant, a sweater, all together that matched the most popular ski combinations. And that worked tremendously because once again, packaging And that's why in the ski business, we always package skis, bindings, and poles. That's like, I don't think you'll ever walk into a ski shop that doesn't do that. But we took it one step further. And if you notice, other ski shops could have copied us. For whatever reason, they didn't, but they could have. The point is we found a problem that the customer had, and that was matching the skis with the clothing. So that's the fourth component, packaging and bundling. And then the fifth component, sometimes I get pushback on this, but it's indifference to the outcome. If you sound like a used car salesperson, then the customer is going to perceive that you're out for your own best interest instead of theirs. The key is to be totally indifferent to the outcome. Whether you use me or someone else, this is the steps that you need to take. That's a total indifferent comment. And so being indifferent to the outcome allows you to lock arms with the prospect and stay on the same side of the table. So once again, it's scarcity and urgency, risk reversal, adding more value to your product or service, packaging and bundling, and indifference to the outcome.
I tell you, Michael, that's a lesson right there. I'll tell you, for most people, you need to go back and listen to that one more time, because even with your conversion formula, captivate, fascinate, educate, and then that compelling offer really sets a framework up for every business. I don't care if you're in retail, if you're in service business, or what it is, it really sets it up. And I really appreciate you sharing that, because that's value right there. But we've got a lot more that we're going to cover. So we're going to take a short commercial break, and we'll be right back.
Are you a business owner striving for balance in your life? Ready to find the answers that are keeping you from reaching your goals? We created the Business Owner's Life Domain Assessment Quiz to help business owners find clarity. You can take our free assessment and unlock what is holding you back. This assessment will gauge your well-being in health, relationships, business, personal goals, and finances. By responding to a few thought-provoking questions, you will gain clarity on what truly matters for your success and fulfillment. Receive your free personalized life domain score, revealing your strengths and areas for improvements. With this knowledge, you will be able to make informed decisions to enhance your well-being and thrive in all aspects of your life. Don't miss this opportunity to excel in your personal and professional endeavors. Take the free Business Owner's Life Domain Assessment Quiz now and unlock your path to a more fulfilling and balanced life as an entrepreneur. Just go to show notes and click the link, Business Owner's Life Assessment. It's free.
And now back to the show. Well, I tell you, there was some great information there. So I know this podcast is only going to get better. But one of the things I know you talk about and write about some is what a lot of business owners call "I hope so" marketing.
Right.
So can you give us your take on that and what you mean by that?
I'd love to. It's if you want to do what your competitors are doing and you don't want to differentiate, you do "I hope so" marketing. And let me explain. It's comments that you see like largest selection, lowest prices, best service, most convenient, honest and sincere, most professional, highest quality. All of these comments are what I call "I hope so" marketing. And the reason why I call it "I hope so" marketing is the customer is saying, most professional? I hope so. I hope I'm not dealing with someone who's unprofessional. Highest quality? I hope so. Why would I buy something that isn't highest quality? Honest and sincere? I hope you're honest. I wouldn't want to deal with a crook. So that's why I call it "I hope so" marketing. And if you look at ads today or anything on social or anything in any type of medium, you will see "I hope so" marketing, because and it just doesn't differentiate yourself because everybody's using it. And if anybody can use it and anybody can say it, it has it's jargon. It has no value. And so that's what we call "I hope so" marketing. And we see it so often. I would venture to say, Gary, that 95% of the marketing out there is "I hope so" marketing. There's just no way to differentiate yourself when you use that kind of jargon.
Yeah, and the challenge you get in that when business owners do that, they look, they feel just like everyone else. And really, do not set yourself apart at all. And today, that means they're going to their phones, they're going wherever, and they're just picking the next person in line. And you don't want to be in that position.
Right. And what you're doing when you use I hope so marketing, what you're doing is you're giving the customer no other choice than to differentiate you based on price.
Yes.
That's it. There's no other criteria that they can use. And that's why the conversion formula is effective. Because the captivate and fascinate are the emotional components, because we're hitting the problem that they have that they don't want, along with the solution. And then we're educating them. That's the logic behind, because people buy emotionally and then back it up logically. And so our conversion formula follows that process. It hits you with the emotional components, the captivate and fascinate, and then it educates you. That's the logical component. And then you hit them with that compelling offer.
Yeah. What a great philosophy. And I mean, it's not just philosophy. You've put it in action and you've shared several examples
That's
that's
right.
already there. Let's go from there because I think from that side of it, you mentioned this a little bit, but let's talk a little bit about that position of dominance and why all businesses really should put themselves in this position, because then that sets them totally apart from their competition, doesn't it?
That's right. It's a key differentiator. And it really just is the first two components of the conversion formula. The position of market dominance is the captivate and fascinate, the problem and the solution. And if you get those first two right, the rest is fairly easy. Because now you have their attention and now you can educate them. The most difficult thing to do today is get people's attention. And we believe that the conversion formula does that heavy lifting for you, because it addresses those two critical emotional issues: the problem they have, the solution they want. And so, yeah, so the position of market dominance to us at Next Step CFO is the key differentiator.
Yeah.
It allows, and by the way, it takes work. I don't want to soft pedal this. We have a 13-week program. It's 13 weeks to come up with the position of market dominance, but we have a system, a format in order to accomplish that. And by the way, it starts with knowing who the customer is, a customer avatar. It starts with knowing who the customer is, but then it goes beyond that. But if you have a good customer avatar, then you can identify the problems from that avatar.
Yeah. And that becomes, it sets you apart, you're not like everyone else. And it really puts you in a position in your company, in your business, that now most of the time what happens is they give more value. So guess what they get to do? They get to charge more.
There you go. That's right.
So it becomes a great
You
thing.
become the only choice. That's how it works. That's how it works when you identify the right problem.
Well, I appreciate you sharing that. And that's so important. So really think back and what do you need to do in your business? Of course, we're going to give you how you can get in touch with Michael and his company as we go along here. But keep that in mind, because that may be something that you need to do in your business to set yourself apart. You can really be the dominant in your marketplace if you have that position of dominance that's there. Michael, a couple of things I'm just curious about, just as I was doing some research on you and doing a little bit of reading about you. You talk about how to use this 80-20 rule to gain that time freedom in your business. And let's be honest, all small business owners are struggling in this area. And I'm just curious, I love getting people's different takes, because we have to find better ways to do it. And we have to really set up some barriers for us, because otherwise what happens is the days and the weeks go by way too fast and we don't get our most important items taken care of.
Right. What we did is we narrowed down. You see, what we saw when we were doing research for our book is that we saw that there was a lot of overwhelm, that business owners are just simply overwhelmed. They have so many things that they have to think about. There's so many things that they have to do. They have to know about. things that they have to know about, and then all of a sudden they hear something new, and then they crack because they have to know about that, and it's just a bag of overwhelm. So what we thought we would do when we were writing our book is we thought that if we could narrow down, if we could utilize the 80-20 rule, where in most business vernacular, the 80-20 rule is that 80% of your revenue is driven by 20% of your customers. We have a little different philosophy on it. We're saying that 80% of your revenue is driven by 20% of your effort. And what we believe we did is we pinned down that 20%. So what is that 20% that business owners should be focused on that drives and leverages 80% of their revenue? And so we've narrowed it down to 7 areas that we call the 7-step pathway to profit formula. We're into formulas, Gary.
I love it. That's what I call frameworks, and that makes my mind, I can follow steps.
So our 7-step pathway to profit formula is, first of all, getting quality leads. That's number 1. Second is focusing on conversions. What are my conversion rates? How many am I converting into customers? I'm sorry, it's converting into my sales process. Third is the closing rates. What percentage of people in my sales process are converting to customers? Fourth, which is something business owners don't focus on enough through the interviews that we've done with business owners for our book, client retention. Client retention. They don't focus enough on it. Once they get a client, it's like, okay, good. Let's move on. Let's not focus on, keeping that client and keeping their, continually adding value to that client. And then average dollar per sale. How do we increase our average dollars per sale? How do we offer another product or service? Do we add more value? So that's the other component, the average dollar per sale. Then frequency of sale. How many times can we sell to that customer? And then finally, we have to manage our costs, both fixed costs and variable costs. And so once again, it's leads, conversions, closing rates, client retention, average dollar per sale, frequency of sale, and cost. If business owners would focus on that, that's the 20% that drives 80% of the volume. And if they focus on that, they'll find time freedom and consistent profit.
That's I'm telling you, this is one of those podcasts you're going to have to go back and re-listen to, because he's given us, and I think he's going to share with us how maybe you can get powerful business strategies also. But the thing is, some really good frameworks that you have and processes to be able to easily follow, Michael. So really, I think now is a perfect time, because we're coming up on that time before everybody's busy, so we don't want to go too long. But tell them how did you find these things out? And you talked a little bit about, you interviewed people for your powerful business strategies, and
right.
Share with them how they can connect with you.
Yeah, well, we're always interviewing business owners for the next edition of, business is always changing, Gary. And so because of that, we're constantly interviewing business owners to confirm some of the concepts that we have in our book. And so if a business owner would like to interview for the next edition of our book, and like I said, we write new editions at the rate of about once a year. This right here that you see in right now, that was the 2nd edition. We're hopeful that the 3rd edition will come out sometime next year. And but we have to interview enough business owners. When we wrote our 1st edition, we interviewed very few. And I don't know why. I don't know if I was taking stupid pills or something, but we interviewed very few. For this edition, we interviewed a lot more, and for the next edition, we're going to even interview more than that. But if any business owners out there would like to interview for the next edition of our book, they could simply go to nextstepcfo.net, by the way, there they can also download the second edition. They could download our book free of charge. Our book is free of charge. It's our contribution to the business community. And so what we'd like to do, though, is we like to interview business owners, and would be happy to interview any business owner by going to nextstepcfo.net, clicking on our contact page, and putting book interview in the space provided, and click send, and we'll be happy to interview you for the next edition of our book. It's a safe place. It's harmless. And we'd love that opportunity.
Well, it's great research for you because you're really getting a pulse on the business at all times by interviewing people throughout the year, instead of just saying, oh, I'm going to write a book. Now I need to interview 20 people, 10 people, or whatever. So you're having a pulse on really the marketplace of what's going on at any time. We know we're in third quarter now, getting ready to go in the fourth quarter. That changes what people are thinking. There's no doubt. There's an election come up. So it gives people a really good indication. So I think that's a great strategy to use. Actually, you gave me a great thought for my next book.
There you go. Business is always changing, and we're always trying to prove our concepts. I mean, sometimes, I'm sure business strategies that worked in 1940 aren't working today, so business is always evolving, always changing, and we've got to keep making sure that what we're talking about here continues to work.
Yeah.
That's what it's about.
Check out his website, nextstepcfo.net. Right there is where you can register. It's all there. They're also, if you want to check them out on Twitter and Facebook and LinkedIn, we're going to have all that in show notes. We know they're too busy and can't write it down now. So just go to show notes, and all those links will be right there. As he told you, this powerful business strategies, if you really want to dig in and read more about it, he told you he's going to give you a free copy. So just go to their website and download the book. He's going to give it to you totally free. You can't beat that. That price is hard to beat and stuff, but it's really going to make you think, and it's really going to build on what we've talked about already in these frameworks that he's going to break out for you. So really, I encourage you to go get that information. And then if you want to be interviewed, they'd love to interview you. So check out there, the calendar links there, and you can connect to them there. Now, Michael, before I let you go, you've given them some great nuggets and some great information and great frameworks, but I have to ask you this question because I ask every guest this same question. What is your best advice that you would give the business owners?
My best advice, absolute best advice, and really short, is don't keep doing what your competition is doing. I say that at the end of my radio show. I say that at the end of our book. I say that I finalize everything by saying that, because too many people are doing what their competition is doing. 95% of small business strategies, business and financial strategies used today, are identical to your competitors, and they don't work. And so that's our advice.
That is great advice. And I will tell you, this day and age, you've got to be different. You got to differentiate yourself in the market. We've given you plenty of frameworks to think about, but now really, how are you going to do it? And maybe the first way you should do it is go download the book so you get that information. Even if you don't want to be interviewed, you can get the book and get the concepts and decide, how do I want to pour into that information that's available. Michael, I can't thank you enough for sharing great information. I will tell you, as a podcast host, your hope is you get people that want to educate, and you came to educate our guests today and our listeners, and I can't thank you enough for doing that for us.
Thank you, Gary. It was a lot of fun. I really appreciate you having me.
Listeners, I always give you an action item. Here's the pretty simple action item. Go download the book, because Powerful Business Strategies, those frameworks are going to be in there. They're golden nuggets that you do that can differentiate yourself in the market and really create that market of dominance. And really, if there's 3 competitors in your marketplace, you're going to be the number 1 competitor in a short amount of time if you go through and do the work that it takes to get there. And they'll help you with that process if you want. So that's available to you. Thanks for joining us again this week. Come back next week. Hey, do me a favor. You probably know someone that needs to hear this podcast. Will you hit those 3 little buttons on your app and share this podcast with them and say, hey, I thought of you when I heard this podcast, and you ought to take a listen to it. This might help your business, because I know you know other business owners too. So that allows our podcast to keep growing. So thanks for joining us, and I'll see you back here next week. Make it a great day.
That's all the time we have for this week. To continue your journey, head over to smallbusinessanswerman.biz to access the tools and resources mentioned in today's show. If you enjoyed this episode, please subscribe and share it with someone who would benefit from listening. That's smallbusinessanswerman.biz. Until next time, remember, when you find the right solutions, your business grows, and you get your time back.